But today, Bob Day, Senator for South Australia for Family First, joins us. And Senator, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Now, let me ask you probably the biggest question first. Are we likely to see a double dissolution this year?
Yes, I think we are.
Why so?
Well, the bombshell that the government dropped on us on Monday, this deal that the Liberal, Greens and Nick Xenophon had stitched up to abolish minor parties and prevent the election of any new minor parties, is going to now make it pretty much unworkable. And why the government would want to only a half Senate election and then keep these crossbench for the next 4 years would be problematic. So I imagine they'd want to clear the decks and clear all the senators out and then have a double dissolution election.
Do you think that the changes to the Senate voting process were made in a let me ask the specific part, an active attempt to completely clear the decks?
Yeah, of course. That's the idea, and this will be seen as pretty transparent, and the Australian people will see this for what it is, and that is the big guys putting little guys out of business. And there's no doubt about that. But what's going to happen, of course, is that the 25% of the electorate, the 3 million voters who vote for minor parties, and now will become disenfranchised. Their votes won't count, and this could really backfire. There could be an almighty backlash on this, and I've been quietly counselling the government. I was actually a member of the Liberal Party for many years, and I've been saying, look, instead of getting rid of minor parties, the Liberals should be asking, why are so many people not voting for them anymore? And they would have done well to answer that question rather than do a deal with the Greens and Nick Xenophon to abolish minor parties, and also, more importantly, prevent any new parties from ever getting established. I think this is a really sad day.
Do you think, because we used to have a dominant third party in the Australian Democrats, it's then sort of splintered out between yourself, Family First, the Greens, Nick Xenophon now making a name for himself. Is part of this a frustration from the major parties that this previously dominant third party has splintered into micro-parties?
Oh, well, it's a well-known phenomenon. We see it in the taxi industry that along comes a new upstart called Uber, and instead of the taxi industry asking itself why are people, gravitating in droves towards the new provider, they lobby governments to have these new entrants banned, and you see it all over the place. It's a natural order of things that the big guys, and whether it's Coles and Woolies, who are very competitive with each other, but it's one thing they hate more than each other is new entrants coming along.
But you've got to admit, I mean, the fact that there were representatives that got less than 1% of the vote and yet got a Senate seat, that's got to just not pass the sniff test.
Well, this is a fallacy. One of the features of the Australian voting system, and we have a very unusual and unique voting system in Australia. Compulsory voting to start with, the only English-speaking country in the world that has compulsory voting. But one of the trade-offs of that, one of the benefits that we provide is that a person's vote stays alive right throughout the count. It doesn't die. If your first preference vote to the Veterans Party or the Fishing and Lifestyle or Family First, if they don't get elected, then your vote then fully transfers to your second choice. And if your second choice doesn't get elected, then it goes to your third choice. Now, this is the Australian way of voting. We don't demand, we don't obsess with how many people get first preference or best on ground votes, if you like. I played a lot of sport in my life, and, to be truthful, I don't think I ever got best on ground, and probably never got too many second best, but I do remember getting lots of third best, and they all add up. Your votes in Australia count whether you get your first preference or your second or your third. They all add up, and the idea that just because somebody doesn't get a lot of first preference, that somehow that it means more than all the ones that you add up on your second preferences. I mean, for example, I got nearly 4% of the vote in South Australia, about 40,000 first preference votes, but I got 140,000 second, third, fourth and fifth preference votes. Now, they all added up to a quota of 14%. Now, That's the system that we operate under, and whether somebody gets 1 or 2 or 3 or 4% on their first preference, depending on how many second and third preference, they all add up. And my total added up to 180,000, and I only needed 150,000 to be elected, so I actually had a surplus.
I didn't mean to imply it was you. It was other
but the
senators.
Principle is the same. Look, it doesn't really matter. Look, that principle of someone only getting 0.5% or 1% or 2 or 3. Nick Xenophon himself only got just over 2% when he started, and now he's done a deal with the government, the Liberals and Greens, to prevent that ever happening again. So you need a minimum now of about 10%. And that's impossible. There'll be no new Democrats springing up, and it's not healthy. It can't be healthy for a democracy to prevent new entrants coming into the market.
Senator Bob Day is with us on ABC.